For some of the issues they're raising is the fact that even as they go to verify these signatures, the IBC doesn't have these specimen signatures. They do have biometric data of the registered voters, but they don't have the sample signatures. So how do they verify that? That's what they're presenting to the courts, and you can find that story on page 4 of your Standard this morning. Front page of the Daily Nation now. Ruto takes battle to political bigwigs. In race for State House, Deputy President William Ruto has launched a multi-pronged campaign to capture his stronghold, the strongholds of his rivals. As you can see right there, some of the key people of interest in this political landscape at the moment: Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, Governor Hassan Joho, and Baringo Senator and KANU leader Gideon Moi. All areas where, from this particular story that you can find on page 4, DP Ruto is trying to make inroads in these respective turfs. You can find that story in your copy of your Daily Nation with all that there. Moving on to the front page of the Standard now. Still a story on the Deputy President, how Ruto plans to create his coalition. DP hopes to enter into agreements with regional and little-known startup parties. This can be found on page 4 and 5 of the Star. They say Tanga chief is focusing on Western Coast, Northeastern, Central, and Kisii. So they're trying to map out his political strategy on how he'll deal with getting that grassroots level support. And you can find the story on page 4 and 5 of your Star this morning. And finally, look at the front page of the Business Daily. It's all about matters debt. Borrowers use chairs, TV, cows to access a total of 26.8 billion shillings. This courtesy of the Central Bank and the data, Central Bank of Kenya, and the data that is given us. Cash-strapped Kenyans increasingly using home goods for loan security. Just a sign of the times right now, and just testament to the fact that there is indeed a cash crunch right there. And as you can see, trying to be liquid as possible and using anything they can as collateral with these financial institutions. And this is the lead story in your copy of your Business Daily. You can get all of the details right there. If you can scroll down to Matters Economy, this from the IMF. Kenya risks Eurobond facility over debt pileup. Kenya risks losing access to cheap Eurobonds due to its debt pileup. This coming from the International Monetary Fund. They are citing investor concerns over possible defaults or deferment of repayments of these particular Eurobonds. And you can find that story in detail in your copy of your Business Daily. It's on page 4 therein. And it's an issue we'll be talking about on the show as well, because even as it stands right now, we've spoken about this for so long. How tenable, how sustainable is the public debt that you're in right now, even as CS Ukur Yatani asks to raise that debt ceiling a bit further in terms of getting more money into public coffers. It's a discussion we have right here in studio. As always, we love it when you're part of the show. Welcome to K24 this morning. And welcome back, of course. Those are the issues we're talking about today. It's all about the political promises that were made, manifestos that were read out, of course, as various political parties tried to get that top seat. And also, as it stands, what's the status of service delivery for you and I? That's what we're talking about right here. You can get me on Twitter at @IamJeffMotic. You can also WhatsApp me. The WhatsApp number is at the bottom of the screen. Let me welcome my panel as they come into this first week of the show. It's a Wednesday. Former Speaker of Nairobi County Assembly, Madam Bridget Salachi. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome back.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hope you crossed over well.
Yes, I did.
Fantastic stuff. Welcome back on the show. And for the first time, Uasin Gishu Women's Rep, Gladys Boscholei. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And to all the viewers too.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being part of the show this morning. Lots to discuss right here. Before I jump into that, I just want everyone's assessment as to how the government has dealt with back-to-school operations this couple of days so far. It's a Herculean task right across the world, this one, because nobody really has the formula on how this can be done. But this will be day 3 of the particular process. How are you seeing it from where you stand, Madam Shulei?
At least I like the enthusiasm with which parents have sent their children back to school. Many of the students you talk to, they're excited to go back to school because it's boring being at home. But I think speaking as a parent, I'm terrified. I'm not sure what's going to happen. We don't know whether we're going to get a peak in the increases of infections with our children being there. I know that many schools do not have water, just let alone even sanitizers or soap. They just don't have don't have water. Some don't even have bathrooms. We've seen that there's challenges with the learning space. And I think that's where I feel we didn't use the opportunity to make sure that we deal with the infrastructure. And one of the biggest complaints, and I keep saying this and I'll keep repeating it, is I would have expected that the Kenyan Army should have been used to build temporary housing. Right. They could have decided to, there's many business people who have tents. They could have set up tents in the fields in schools in order to be able to have the social distancing as required by the rules. So we haven't made a significant effort.
Okay.
And I've also wished to see a situation where you open the tertiary institutions first, then open the secondary schools, then the primary schools, so that we get a feel of how the spreading is being done. Right. I'm surprised that we say we can't have political events for 60 days, but we can send our children to school. So are we using our children as guinea pigs to test whether the spread will increase or not increase? So those are the challenges. I think we must pray really hard as parents, because the next 2 weeks are going to be challenging. We'll know whether there'll be more infections. People think children are not predisposed, but they are, because there are many kids who are malnourished because of the economic stratum that they are in their families. They don't get a balanced diet. Right. So you get many kids are actually more predisposed than even 58-year-old persons. Yeah. So those are the challenges. It's a big worry, but let's hope that all goes well.
Okay, Madam Alachi, I'll come to you on this one, of course, as a parent as well. We have a very tough talking CS Magoha on what he said will happen moving forward. He is still unapologetic on the fact that they should go and land under trees. There's free flow of oxygen right there, and that's what they need. What was your assessment when he said that? What's your report card on CS Magoha so far?
Well, you see, that's why we are saying, in Corona, it's a trial and error process, both from the doctors to everyone, to even us parents. Because when you look at our houses, yes, we are enclosed, and sometimes it's also very difficult. That's why children who live in a one-bedroom or even just a one-room, mabati, they have lived in the precious will of God. Let's start from there. So bringing them to school is okay to me. And it's okay, but what I will say is that it's very sad that when did we start COVID? Way back in March last year. And I wish at that time the members of parliament would have used that time to go back and do prefab classes, because that time there were no children. So you can do any development that you wish to do and ensure that we have the prefab classrooms, knowing very well you are preparing at one point. You see, the problem with our country is like we've just woken up and Corona with it yesterday. No. We knew our children will go back to school. We knew we needed all these things to happen. Jubilee government came in with the last mile. You want to tell me you can't do a last mile of getting water to every school in this country? Right. We would have done. The same way we did last miles of Kenya Power. And at that time, I don't know, we were buying a pole at how much? Right. I can imagine. A cost of one pole is a cost of like doing some pans and boreholes in some of the schools that we have. Okay. So it is something that we needed to have. We think through and we do the right thing. In Nairobi, look at how we are now. And I really want to plead with Buddy and say, I know we have very many kids right now roaming in the streets of Nairobi. They have become now, you find them an insecurity matter, and we have to deal with it. Okay. And therefore, they need to tell us also how they are walking around to see schools are going back, and we want to really ensure, even the ones who are now on the streets, and many people are complaining, I would plead to them to start dealing with it, because it's going to be also a crisis to us. But I know we are facing a lot of challenges in the slum areas. I looked at Olympic Primary, and everyone in Kibra wanted to leave the child there, which is so difficult. And do we have land in Nairobi? I think we've grabbed everything, but I think we can go up. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let me get nominated Senator Sylvie Kasanga in on the conversation. She'll be joining us on the show virtually. If you can hear me, morning, Senator, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you today?
Very well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana. Of course, as you join the conversation, quick assessment of day 3 of resumption of learning in schools across the country. Very quickly, before we get to the subject matter of your day, what's the assessment from where you stand?
A lot of anxiety. I am also a parent of young children, so I can tell you even now I'm a bit late because I am also in the middle of sorting out things. Parents are very, very anxious. Children are very, very anxious. I don't know how we are going to deal with the anxiety levels because they will definitely play into the quality of everything. But largely also a little bit of acceptance that life has to go on. We can't just have our children sit at home. We also can't just sit about wondering what to do next. Our children have, a whole year's gap in education almost is quite significant, and some movement has to be seen. So in as much as all this anxiety is there, the lack of proper preparation is also clear in some schools and in some areas. But really, life must go on. And, we are called upon as parents now, to pick it up. I know a big burden is going on to the parents right now, but it's almost at a point where we have no choice because life must go on. And in as much as we want to look into the reasons why parents have to bear this burden, maybe because the government didn't do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 things, one way or another, life must go on.
Okay.
So I'm in that space myself. And I'm hoping that Kenyans, we will just have to embrace this challenge together. Okay,
fantastic. Ladies, let's switch gears now to the subject matter of the day. Political promises, manifestos, and service delivery. Honorable Shirley, let me start with you. When it comes to the crafting of a manifesto, let's talk about the Jubilee Manifesto, for instance. Second term in 2017, all of these good promises, are they done with the reality of what can actually be achieved in a 5-year term? Because, for example, they spoke about making sure every house in Nairobi, including those in slums, will have piped water. Sounds really good on paper. Everybody would want that. But did they sit down and actually look at it economically and actually ask themselves, can we deliver this? How does it work when you promise Kenyans this is what we're going to do for you?
I think what is promised in manifestos can be achieved, and it is possible to achieve it. But the challenge is when there isn't political goodwill to be able to achieve it. Because it is possible, and we all believed in it. Those of us in Jubilee, I believed that they would deliver. That's what the Big Four was about. And unfortunately, we got distracted. If you look at the first 5 years of Jubilee, they actually achieved the electrification, they enhanced devolution, which went very well. Free secondary education, and built the technical vocational training colleges. We seem to be achieving that. The road network that was built in the first 5 years is much more than what was ever built even since independence in 50 years. So they achieved a lot of what they wanted. I think when we went into the second term, then we began to have challenges, because that's when we began to focus on BBI and the handshake and completely forgot about what we had planned to do for the people of Kenya. And I think as I'm saying this, I'd like to respond a little on what Senator Alachi said. She says that MPs could have started building classrooms and temporary housing. Actually, for your information, Madam, this particular year, CDF was only disbursed in December. Since July. The National Affirmative Action Fund was not disbursed until December. So actually, there's been a cash crunch in the country.
Right.
Even salaries were delayed. So whereas many members of parliament had been urged by the head of state that we should try and use the funds that we have within our disposition to ensure that we have water tanks, build infrastructure in the classrooms, the money had not been disbursed. Right. So that is a big challenge that we had in the country. Okay. And it's important for Kenyans to be alive to that. So I still do believe that it is possible to achieve what we promised in the manifesto. We just have to focus on it. If you look at the opposition, which was supposed to be holding us accountable, holding government accountable, has failed. If you remember, what is it that people loved about Raila Odinga from the beginning? It was because when it was NYS, he's the one who called it out. When there was Eurobond, he called it out. When there was challenges with SGR, he called it out. But unfortunately, he's now gone to bed with the executive. So we no longer have an opposition that is able to hold us account for some of the issues that, for some of the promises that we made. The Public Accounts Committee in Parliament is headed by the opposition, by law requirement, and also has majority of the members are people from the opposition. But you find that now they're no longer playing their role as opposition. They've become a cheering squad for the government. Okay. So that is the challenge that we have at the moment. Right now. Yes.
Madam Malachi, I'll come to you on this. When you talk about distractions all over the place, let's talk about this letter, whether it was written, whether it was leaked, whether it was not written, still out there as we discuss it right now. And this is a letter by Chief Whip Irungu Kang'ata. As it stands right now, Jubilee members now calling for a PG meeting to discuss this particular issue. Do you think this is a meeting that brings everyone together, or has Jubilee imploded, as was implied yesterday in the dailies? It's done, dusted, this is just the signs of a party on its knees.
Well, first of all, let me just say this, that in terms of Jubilee as a government, and God has been gracious to us, we've been in this government since 2013. This is a government that had a lot of goodwill. As much as people came in, started fighting, these are two tribes, but it had goodwill. The president tried his best and has been trying his best to really bring the country together to say that, yes, while Jubilee is the one running the government, but this is a country we have to work together. And I think that is why, whether we like it or not, and thank God, that happened then. Because you can imagine, today with COVID, if we were not together as a country, I doubt whether Jubilee would have sustained that. It will not. So God sometimes does things in a very interesting way. We look at it, you can think it's a worst thing, but there was a purpose. That purpose has come to pass because it has given Jubilee, as a government, a way of doing work in a crisis moment, but they are able to try and just work for the country. When I say Jubilee, I'm saying both the president and the deputy. We didn't have two presidents. No, we have one. And therefore, for us in Jubilee, we are the ones who have messed our own party. Not anybody. Not the opposition has come to mess us. We decided to just become cantankerous, and we said, this is how we are going to move. We will abuse each other in our own party, mix things in our own party, but we will use the blame for the opposition. But then we forget we were given a country by Kenyans. They are hurting. Today they feel, I lost my job, I lost my business. They don't feel it's the opposition. They know it's within the Jubilee government. Whether you come and tell them, whether we caught it how, they will always believe it is within the Jubilee government that we went through this pain. It is for us in 2021. We want to do the big four, is to look at ourselves and say, fine, we will have our own political, I will believe in this, I will believe in this, but is there a way we can focus and just support now the president for 8 months to just try and deliver this country and see how we start paying our debts that Jubilee brought.
I want to jump in there very quickly before I get to Kasanga. When you say that, it sounds good, but in reality, how do you do that? Because we've heard of how the PG meetings go of late. So
that's
how
why
is
I'm
the party
saying
brought in line?
It is for them to look at this year. For Kang'ata, I mean, we are hitting on Kang'ata on everything. But in real sense, he said the truth. Let's be honest.
Okay.
He brought out the truth. It's only the how. But in reality, I'll tell Jubilee, he told us the truth. The best is to take the opportunity now, what Kang'ata has said, and look at the issues and see how to move properly. Okay. We should not hide ourselves at the unajifanya. Alafu, you go into a corner, start talking, oh, you know, Kang'ata said the truth. Then here you want to please the president and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll tell my president. He said the truth. It is the how that was very wrong. Okay. But the truth, he said.
Senator Kasanga, I'll have you in on this one as well. Try and jump to the other side of what could be the political divide, because right now it's a really gray line, this one, who's opposition, who's in government. But even from where you stand, and your party as well, at this particular point, as it was moving at some point, there were promises that things will get messy in terms of the divorce of the coalition partners in there. And some people are saying the only reason these parties are put together is to get power. If they get it, well and good. If they don't, the party just falls by the wayside and people move on. What's your assessment of that, especially looking at how NASA went so far?
First, let me say Happy New Year to my wonderful friends there in studio. I hadn't done that, Honorable Cholet and Madam Speaker. And I just want to comment on something Honorable Cholet has said, that the opposition is in bed with government and that's why we are not getting some of our promises. And I just want to remind her that there's nothing the opposition did not do. Remember walking out of Parliament, we have debated so many times on the floor of the House complaining about this and calling out the government on that. But the truth is, as long as the ruling party is in shambles, as the Honorable Speaker is saying, then there's no way they're going to deliver. And the fact remains they have failed to deliver. Where is the digital education, especially now when we needed it the most? Where are the laptops when we needed them the most? You know, and all the other things. And the debt ceiling. Let's not forget about the debt ceiling. How Parliament was whipped to approve the debt ceiling. All that is because we have a very powerful president who is able to rally Parliament the way he wants. And for me, that is why I'm looking forward to the BBI, because it's time we have the leader of opposition in Parliament. That's why we need those shadow cabinets back in Parliament, so that we don't have situations that we have seen happen in this country. We have seen the judiciary budgets cut, again, by the ruling party. That has nothing to do with the opposition. In fact, the ruling party made sure that opposition did not get seats in committees. Only until the handshake happened did we get a little privilege where we got some vice chairpersons in Parliament committees. We had nothing. So really, this government had everything and they have not delivered, and that's a fact. So let us look forward to the BBI. We have to thank the President and the Right Honorable Raila for the handshake, because at least the handshake calmed things down, and the handshake was able to begin to move us forward towards a certain direction, which we can look forward to as Kenyans, and especially as women, because now the BBI is giving us women a lot of leeway come the next election. So for me, that is what I can tell you. I look forward to the BBI now to correct some of the things that this government has shown us are the biggest loopholes if we go into another electoral cycle.
Senator, just very quickly before we get into our break, in 30 seconds or so, because what I was asking also is the fact that if the NASA coalition had stayed intact throughout this term, wouldn't it have had a much better opposition in terms of holding the government to account, instead of each party falling off the wayside and everyone trying to survive politically?
No, not really. Like I said, when the Parliament was constituted in August, if you remember, NASA would walk out because we were in protest over the first election that we felt was stolen. And when the second election was done and Parliament now resumed, if you remember, opposition had no space whatsoever because they never even allowed for vice chairpersons, which used to happen in previous Parliament cycles. So there were no vice chairpersons. There was nothing. We could not even participate as much in that accountability other than debate on the floor of the House. And that is where we would put our voices in the debates of the floor of the House. Okay. So it was a challenge. We were locked out, actually, to make sure that we don't participate as fully as maybe the opposition should have been allowed to participate fully in a robust Parliament. Okay,
that will bring us to the first break right here on the show. Of course, we'll be taking your views as well. You can tweet me at I am Jeff Moto as discuss these issues. Speaker Lachi in studio, Honorable Boss Cholet as well. Join the conversation via Skype is Senator Kasanga. Get your questions in. It's all about manifesto, service delivery, and the political promises made. That's what we're discussing right here. Back after a short break. Don't go.